What up fam, eFresh here and I'm back with an all new video, and today we are back in the world of Destiny 2. In today's video I have a Titan build that I'm going to recommend for you. It is using an aspect I don't see too many people mention pretty much at all. So I think you're going to enjoy this one. So get your popcorn ready, get out your pencils and your notepad to take some notes, and we're going to talk about this build. Hopefully you enjoy it. That being said, let's get into the build. Alright, as you see on my screen, look at this majestic, badass looking Titan. I spent a long time creating this. And you know why it took so long? Because the exotic class item, the way it looks, it only works with so much. That's kind of a gripe I have. I wish I could add some other, look to it, other than having to pay money to get the exotic one, the ornament. But yeah, it's not a lot to work with when using this one because it's so, as the word I used earlier, majestic. But we make do around here. We make our guardians look insane and awesome. And yeah, it's enough about the way I look, all right? It's enough about the way I look. You're here for the build. This build is kind of crazy. And by crazy, I don't mean it's like this most awesome god tier, the greatest build ever made. It's not that. It's just using something I don't see often, that's all. So, the main thing I'm referring to is when you come to your aspect, we're gonna be using Unbreakable, which as you see, you hold your grenade, it summons a void shield, and it blocks incoming damage. The exotic class item I'm going to be using with this is going to take advantage of this aspect. So, as we get started up here, I'm going to be pairing this with Spirit of the Bear and Spirit of Contact. Spirit of the Bear makes it to where you move faster while guarding with the Unbreakable shield. Damage blocked with Unbreakable is converted to super energy. So for starters, not only am I'm blocking damage, I can move faster, and when I'm done, it converts that energy that I'm receiving into super energy. On top of that, combining that with this aspect, as you see here, when you hold the button down and you summon your void shield and you block damage, it drains your grenade energy, but it grants you an overshield at the same time. Also, when you release it, it puts out this void push that not only kills enemies, if it doesn't kill them, it also can disorient them or quote unquote blind them, however you want to look at it. A lot of people don't use this because it's not a crazy aspect, and I honestly think it needs to be buffed, but I found a way to make use of it for in-game content, which is what you see here. So the first thing you're probably asking, can you use this in GM? Because every time in the comment section, anytime I make a build or a weapon video, the first thing somebody asks is, can this be used in the GM? Can this be used in high-end game content? Good. Yes, it can. But bro, are y'all not tired of Consecration Slam only? Granted, I am using that, which is going to tie into the other part of this exotic class item. But I just wanted something a little bit different, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I wanted to use Unbreakable. So when I got that exotic class item, I thought, you know what? Let's make use of it. So, again, we have Spirit of the Bear. And I'm going to show you an example while this is going on to show you why I think this is actually useful in in-game content. As you see in the clip I'm going to provide for you, when my teammate dies, you know what I can do? I can pop my grenade, hold it, get that barrier, and then go over there and res him without worrying about me getting killed during GMs. It's very useful. On top of that, once that's done, it explodes whatever enemy's in front of me. If they don't die, they get blind. It's just a win-win. I still think it needs to be buffed damage-wise. That's the only thing I think. But as a tool, I think it's underutilized, and it's not enough people that are talking about it. But as I mentioned earlier, yes, it does involve Consecration Slam. And the only reason I kept that was because we have Spirit of Contact. Spirit of Contact is damaging a target with a powered melee causes all nearby targets to suffer lightning strikes and become jolted. So yes, not only is this working with Consecration where they're blowing up with ignitions, I'm also hitting them with lightning strikes and they're being jolted, which can also help with overloads. See, it's a win-win. So, just to recap with this exotic class item. Number one, Spirit of the Bear. If my enemies are down, I can pop my shield, I can block them, I can block what enemy's shooting at me, pick up my teammates, and then we're both out of danger. On top of that, it's releasing a void push to the enemies that are in front of me. They can either get killed or they can get blinded. And all that while I'm getting super energy. All a win-win. And Spirit of Contact, basically, I just do some consecration. It blows enemies up with ignitions, and other targets get hit with lightning strikes and become jolted. It's all a win-win. Future eFresh plays here. I've said the words win-win quite a few times in this. My bad. All right. My bad. I get it. I just listened to it just now and I was just like, why did I keep saying win-win? Even though it is that, but I did use it a lot. My bad. I'm sorry. My bad. Back to the video. This is one where I thought I was like, I don't see any big use for this, and I almost deleted it. And then something just said, hear me out. Let's just give it a try. In the video you're seeing over this is GM footage, so it's useful anywhere. When it comes to your loadout, you can pretty much use whatever is in accordance to the GM or whatever activity you're playing. This week for this GM, I did use these certain weapons for Overload and for Barrier. So I did use my Riptide for Overload, which is great for Overload champions because it freezes them and then it stuns them. Which you can also, again, we're going to be using Arc Grenades, which can also stun Overloads as well. Same with my Consecration, and with that in accordance to Contact for my melee. All three of those can stun Overload champions, so it's really good to use. Barrier, I use Graviton Lance. You can't go wrong with it. Even though this week it's kind of bugged and it shoots slower, it's still really good, so you can't go wrong with using Graviton Lance. Plus, it's a Void Surge, so why wouldn't I use it? And last but not least, I use Doom Petitioner, which is a great linear fusion. It is Void Surge, and it's just great for heavy, so that's why I just use Doom Petitioner. And it's really good for the boss, so why not? Now, in accordance to that, with my armor mods, I did go for Stasis Siphon and Void Siphon, so I can drop orbs for my teammates. I also use Special Ammo Finder as well. When it comes to my arms, I use Melee Kickstart. So with my armor charge, anytime I use my melee, if I have an armor charge, it gives me grenade energy, which is exactly what I need for Consecration. Same for heavy-handed. When I use that, I drop orbs for my teammates, and I do a lot of slams, kill a lot of enemies, so I'm creating orbs for my teammates to use as well. When it comes to my chest piece, I did use Stasis Reserves, and I used Void Reserves. There's an arc burn this week, so I put on arc resistance, but whatever GM you're doing, depending on the burn, you can switch that out here. Or you can just go full on armor mods in terms of your, or you can just switch that up and just go full on reserves. It's kind of up to you, but with GMs, I do like having some kind of resistance just to help me out. For the boots, I did go Void Surge. That's going to help me with my Graviton Lance and my Doom Petitioner. I did use Innervation to cooldown for my grenades, and I use Invigoration for a cooldown with my melee. Both of those happen whenever I pick up an Orb of Power. It just grants me energy for both of those, so those are also a plus. And lastly, for my class item, I did use Outreach, and I also use Bomber. Both of these are going to help me with my melee and my grenade. When I use my class ability, it just gives me a cooldown, and with Time Dilation for my armor charges, it just gives me more time to use them. As for the subclass itself, as you see, I am using Prismatic, of course. I'm using Twilight Arsenal because it just recently got a really good buff, and this is one of the top damaging supers. Highly recommend you use Twilight Arsenal. As for my fragments, I will be using Facet of Awakening. Rapidly defeating targets with light or darkness damage, or Super Final Blows generates an elemental pickup of the matching damage type. I'm pretty much using all of these except for Strand. So basically with my Stasis Fusion Rifle, if I get rapid kills, it's dropping Stasis Shards, which grant me 3, 2, 1. As for my fragments, I will be using Facet of Awakening. Rapidly defeating targets with light or darkness damage or Super Final Blows generates an elemental pickup of the matching damage type. I'm pretty much using all of these except for Strand, so basically when I'm getting a lot of kills with my Stasis Fusion Rifle, it's going to drop Stasis Shards, which grant me melee energy. I'm also using Void weapons and Void abilities as well, so if I get killed, god damn. 3, what's the name of that fucking Graviton Lance? Oh god. 3, 2, 1. As for the fragments, I will be using Facet of Awakening. Rapidly defeating targets with light or darkness damage or super final blows generates an elemental pickup of the matching damage type. I'm pretty much using all of these except for Strand, so just to kind of let you know about that. Me using my fusion rifle, which is stasis, if I get rapid kills, it drops stasis shards, which grant me melee energy. I'm also using Graviton Lance, so if I get Graviton Lance kills rapidly, it'll drop a Void Breach, which will grant me class ability energy. I'm using Consecration, so it can drop Fire Sprites, which grant grenade energy, and due to Spirit of Contact on the exotic class item, it can drop arc damage, which basically can drop Ionic Traces, which grant me ability energy. So a lot of things happening with this one fragment. I really recommend using Facet of Awakening. Next up, Facet of Purpose. Picking up an orb of power grants either Amplified, Restoration, Frost Armor, Woven Mail, or Overshield based on the damage type of your equipped super. I am going to be using Twilight Arsenal, so basically when I pick up a orb of power, it will grant me an Overshield, so also a plus. You can't go wrong with Facet of Protection. I recommend just keeping that on at all times because it does such a big damage reduction. So while surrounded by combatants, you are more resistant to incoming damage. That pretty much explains itself. While you're Transcendent, it's even increased. You just shouldn't not have this. You should have this on at all times. Next up, we'll be using Facet of Sacrifice. While you have an Arc, Solar, or Void buff, ability Final Blows grant bonus Darkness, Transcendent energy. I'm going to be using Transcendence a lot, so that's why I equipped this one. Anytime I pick up an orb, remember, I'm going to basically be having an Overshield. Also on the artifact, when I pick up an orb, I'm Radiant, so I'm having light buffs at all times. So as long as I'm constantly getting ability Final Blows, especially with Consecration, I'm going to keep getting bonus Darkness damage. Next up, we have Facet of Dominance. Your Void Grenades weaken targets and your Arc Grenades jolt targets. I am going to be using Pulse Grenades, so when I'm not using Unbreakable, I can throw this as well, and I can also jolt enemies, including Overload, and stun them as well. So that's a very dominant, hence Facet of Dominance, fragment I highly suggest using in this build. Last but not least, we have Facet of Balance. Rapidly defeating targets with light damage grants melee energy. Rapidly defeating targets with darkness damage grants grenade energy. So yep, any darkness I'm using, which is going to be stasis in this one, I'm going to get some melee energy. I will be getting grenade energy. And all my other light weapons and abilities, I will be getting melee energy. So it just synergizes with my Consecration and with my Unbreakable. As for my artifact, as you'll see on the screen, I'm definitely going to recommend using Authorized Mods for elemental charges. I don't hate this one either for overcharged armory, especially during GMs, where weapons with Dealer's Choice, Radio Lariat, Transposer, Collective Purpose, and Sundering Origin Tracer are always overcharged weapons for when that modifier is active, and GMs is usually always active, so this is one I recommend using as well. I just don't have it selected currently, but yeah, definitely I would check this one out also. Of course, with Scavenger, just to make my energy cost be cheaper, I will recommend Elemental Siphon as well. Rapid Final Blows with a kinetic weapon or weapon matching your equipped super create an elemental pickup that matches your equipped super. I definitely recommend Threaded Blast, especially because I'm using a sidearm that's creating tangles. I can hit that and it makes the explosion a whole lot bigger. As for this column, definitely recommend Void Hegemony. While you have a Void or Prismatic subclass equipped, defeating weakened targets provides a small Void Overshield. Definitely 100% recommend Radiant Orbs. That should never come off. If you're not using that, you're just throwing it at that point. And I also definitely recommend Galvanic Armor for while you have an Arc or Prismatic subclass equipped. Incoming damage from combatants is reduced, so it's just more damage reduction, especially while you're amplified. For the last two, Shield Crush. While you have Woven Mail, Frost Armor, or Avoid Overshield, which we always do, your melee recharges faster. While you are amplified or radiant, your grenade charges faster. We can take advantage of both of those, so highly recommend that. And last but not least, Transference. Gain increased grenade and melee damage while transcending. This is why we can just do a shit ton of Consecration slams. Highly recommended for you to be using these also. So yeah, man, I hope you guys enjoyed the build. Again, I'm gonna say this again because I want you to understand. Not anywhere am I saying that this is the best build of all time. I just think it's fun to use, it's interesting, and I don't see it used often. I wanted to see if I could make a good use of it, and I found out that I can. It can be very effective. So definitely give it a shot if you get that role for your class item. I recommend it. It's fun to use. So with that being said, guys, I appreciate you watching the video. I appreciate y'all that you've been watching the videos. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hit the comment section down below and tell me some roles of some class items that you got. I'm curious, because I want to see if I can try some other ones. I've been making a lot of Warlock videos because that's just what I've kind of switched to over the past year and a half. So I wanted to go back and give my old love some love, because Titan is who I've been using a Titan since Taken King of Destiny 1, and I never stopped until this past DLC because I just want to try something different. So yeah, I had to come back and give the old Titan some love, man. Hope you guys enjoyed. With that being said, I'm out.